Good evening. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Nursing and Midwifery Safety, a priority for patient safety. The Saudi Patient Safety Center is presenting this webinar this evening as one of its activities as a collaborating center with the WHO in the Eastern Mediterranean region, and the session will be live streamed. My name is Shadia Shaban, and I'm a patient safety advisor at the Saudi Patient Safety Center, and will be fulfilling the responsibilities of the moderator throughout this session. Before we start, I would like to request you to kindly type your questions in the Q&A portion of the Zoom, in the Q&A portion. In preparation for the, after the presentations, we will have a Q&A session, and definitely our distinguished speakers will be able to answer these questions. Without further ado, at the beginning of this session, we will be hearing from Dr. Abdel-Ilah Al-Hawsawi, who will be speaking on the Saudi Patient Safety Center and its role in supporting the following initiatives related to workforce safety, and specifically nursing and midwifery. These efforts include the Safe Staff Saves Lives, and the current document that we will be discussing later in this session about the safe staffing ratios, nursing and midwife to patient ratios. Dr. Abdel-Ilah Hawsawi is the Chief Executive Officer of Noor Diagnostics and Discovery Company. He holds the American and Canadian board certification in general surgery with a subspecialty in transplant and hepatobiliary surgery. In addition, he is the former and founding Director General of the Saudi Patient Safety Center, and he also fulfills the role of an advisor on patient safety within the Saudi Ministry of Health. Furthermore, Dr. Hawsawi is a consultant to several national and international organizations on quality and safety. Without any further ado, Dr. Abdel-Ilah Al-Hawsawi, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Shadia. Thank you, Heba from the Saudi Patient Safety Center. And it's a pleasure to be with my very good friend, Dr. Mohammed Al-Ghamdi. And I feel like, I should be getting a nursing profession by association. I've been in many nursing related events, and it's an honor to be always part of such events. One word to explain the nursing community is passion. I'm just looking at the participants, and I was not expecting that number. Mashallah, the number keeps going up. We started off with like 150s, 160s, and now we keep going up. Nurses are the heart and soul of the healthcare system. 50% of the healthcare professionals is nurses and midwives. So it's always an honor and pleasure to be talking to you.
Yeah.
So actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the time that I was honored to lead the Saudi Patient Safety Center, and while we were setting up the strategy, we were at the very early stages of drafting the vision statement. And as you could see, when you look up the vision statement for the Saudi Patient Safety Center, that it says safer healthcare for all, and all was written in a cap letters, and that was intentional to show that basically safety is not just, when we say patient safety is not just about focusing on the patients at the expense of the healthcare workers, or vice versa. it was an intentional action on our part to show that the safety of patients and the safety of healthcare workers are complementary. So when we're talking about the safety of nurses, then we're talking about 50% of that complementary equation, and that resulted in the efforts way early to have the collaboration with ICN. Congratulations now to the Saudi Nursing Association by becoming a member of the ICN, thanks to the efforts of my dear friend Dr. Mohammed Ghamdi and his team, working tirelessly and pushing this agenda forward. By 2019, we hosted in the kingdom the fourth Global Ministerial Summit on Patient Safety. And at that time, the idea of having that joint ICN was, I would say, the seed was planted. And the efforts continued from 2019, moving afterwards to all the great work that was done by my colleagues in the Saudi Patient Safety Center, in the Saudi Nursing Association, the Saudi Commission for Healthcare Specialties, as well as the Saudi Health Council, which resulted in also this very important piece of initiative to be adopted by Sibahi. So hopefully also this would be part of the Sibahi's fourth version of hospital standards. And I think every Saudi, every healthcare professional that works in Saudi, every nurse and every midwife should feel proud about actually that effort. That effort is basically, relating to the focus on the safety of healthcare workers. And the pandemic in 2022 and in 2020 and in 2021 made it clear that the safety of healthcare workers is a paramount. The year 2020 was the year of the nurses and midwives, and I'm sure Dr. Mohammed Al-Ghamdi is going to talk about all these aspects. But COVID showed why that for us to really move forward to help with the resilience of the healthcare systems, and here I'm not just talking about Saudi, I'm talking about any healthcare system, investment in this very important profession. Again, the heart and soul of any healthcare system is paramount. And I think what my colleagues in the nursing community want is deeds, not words. We can talk about words, and we can talk about why we think this is a very important profession, and it is. But I think such an initiative, such a national piece of legislation that hopefully will continue to take traction forward, is going to be seen. We're going to feel it hopefully in our practice as clinicians, but also we're going to feel it, in our families, in the next generations to come, where the next generation of nurses will come in to see that those nursing ratios are adopted, those nursing ratios are adhered to, and those nursing ratios will guarantee the safety of both, the patients as well as healthcare workers. Again, from my perspective, I'm always honored and privileged to be part of this. I think it is great to see that over the past years, even with the difficulties, even with the pandemic, the tireless work of the Saudi Nursing Association and other important organizations, the Saudi Patient Safety Center. The Saudi Patient Safety Center keeping the light on this very important topic is very important. So my ask to everyone who's watching us now, 244 persons. I'm sure 99% of them are nurses. My ask to everyone that is listening to us, who's watching us, is to please go and look up those nursing ratios. You know, if you work in the ICU, that this document speaks to you. If you work in the emergency department, this document speaks to you. If you work in any unit, this document speaks to you. If you are in a leadership position, you have way more accountability and responsibility to speak up on behalf of this initiative. If you are not a nurse, if you are a chief medical officer or a CEO of the hospital, this document speaks to you. So it is an important document that should not just be pushed forward by just the nursing community or the midwives community. It should be pushed forward by everyone who cares about the healthcare system, by everyone who cares about safety. So with that, again, I thank you very much for the invitation, and I look forward to any questions during the Q&A. Just a disclaimer. I am actually physically now, kind of in and out of certain duties. So I'm looking forward to join the panel at the end. But in case that I got delayed, it's because of some of other parallel activities. But I hope that I would be with Dr. Mohammed for the Q&A as well. Thank you very much. Shadi, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Abdel-Ilah Hawsawi, for championing patient safety, first of all, and also for addressing workforce safety amidst patient safety. And also, on a personal level, when I first joined the Saudi Patient Safety Center, this is one of the first projects that you asked me to work on. So thank you for that honor and that privilege. And I look forward to your input and your feedback, definitely in the Q&A session. So moving forward, next you will be hearing from a presentation from Mr. Howard Catton, who will be providing guidance on actions needed to strengthen the safety of the health workforce, and most specifically, nursing and midwifery. A little introduction about Mr. Howard Catton. He's a registered nurse, and he fulfills the responsibilities of the Chief Executive Officer at the International Council of Nurses, ICN, since February 2019. He is committed to ensuring that ICN effectively represents nursing worldwide, advances the nursing profession, promotes nurses' well-being, and advocates for health in all policies. In addition, he firmly believes that nurses should be at the heart of health policy and decision-making and leading healthcare systems and delivery. Mr. Howard, unfortunately, is not able to join us live today, but he gracefully has recorded his presentation, and that's what will be shared with you. In addition, he won't be able to participate in the Q&A session. So could you please start the Mr. Howard Catton's presentation? Thanks.
Hello, everyone. My name's Howard Catton. I'm a nurse and the Chief Executive Officer of the International Council of Nurses. And I'm delighted to be able to join you for this really important webinar on why patient safety is a priority for the nursing and midwifery professions. ICN has now a long-standing relationship with the Saudi Patient Safety Center. We've worked together. You've contributed to ICN congresses, and I particularly wanted to acknowledge the leadership of Dr. Abdullah Al-Awazi who has been a phenomenal supporter and also a friend of me and ICN. Patient safety is a strategic priority for the International Council of Nurses. For those of you who don't know ICN, we are the internationally recognized body to speak on behalf of the nursing profession. We're in a formal special relationship with WHO. WHO use us to bring forward and to seek nursing advice and expertise. Our membership is our national nursing associations from right the way around the world, 130, more than 130 in membership, including from Saudi Arabia. There are about 27, 28 million nurses worldwide. And as a result of this relationship with WHO, we have contributed to the action plan, global action plan on safety. We work in support of the safety days each year. We participate in the patient safety steering groups as well. So it's an issue that's front and center of ICN's work. Why is that? Very, very simply, in this slide, we've summarized why nurse staffing matters to patient safety. There is a wealth of hard and solid evidence. You can access the original evidence through position statements that are available on our website, but we summarized here, when you have safe nurse staffing levels, patient safety is protected and improved. Lower mortality rates, lower hospital-acquired infection rates, fewer falls, lower failure to rescue rates, identifying the deteriorating patient early, fewer episodes of missed care, fewer medication errors, and better patient experience. Safe staffing is clearly important for patient safety, but it's also important for nurse safety. Where we have safe staffing levels, stress, illness, absence rates are all lower for nursing staff. It improves morale, improves retention, and there are lower burnout rates as well. So safe staffing, nurse is two sides of the same coin, effectively, in terms of patient safety and in terms of nurses' safety. But we also just need to look at what is at the heart of nursing practice, and safety is at the heart of nursing practice. We know that critical to what nurses do is to prevent ill health, to identify risks in behavior, in the environment of care that could harm patients, to identify those and to address them. Nursing practice clearly is supported by education and regulatory and workforce arrangements to ensure it's safe, evidence-based education, not just at pre-registration level, but post-registration for ongoing clinical competence, regulatory mechanisms to make sure that nurses practice safely. If they don't, to prevent or remove nurses. And I'll say a little bit more about working environment as well. Equally, we have a huge amount of evidence to demonstrate how important working environment is to enable and support practice safely. Nurses have a key role in the surveillance care, the environment of care, monitoring and identifying risks or harm, bringing those to attention of quality improvement programs as well within organizations. I think we often overlook the innovations that nurses bring on safety because they see the risks and potential harm. They're frequently the profession who are at the forefront of recommending changes to practice or the processes or systems of care. Similarly, we know how important team working is to ensuring safe care, and often errors are the result of a breakdown in team working. Nurses very, very often at the center of teams coordinating, leading teams as well. So safety is in the DNA of the way in which nurses practice. Let me just go back, and I put that cartoon black humor, I guess, so you can see the nurse stood at the graveside saying, "Sorry, I couldn't get here sooner. Nurse shortage, you know." It makes a incredibly serious point that even though safety is the DNA of nursing practice, you need to have enough nursing staff to ensure care is safe. Where are we with shortages of nurses around the world? We went into the pandemic 6 million nurses short, more than 20% short of what we needed. We know that through the State of the World's Nursing report. ICN were deeply involved in the production of that report. We also produced our own report on the aging of the nursing workforce. There are about another 4.5 million nurses who are due to retire over the next few years. So that takes us up to 10 million plus nurses we need to replace. But we're also deeply concerned, and ICN has been monitoring and tracking the impact of coronavirus on the nursing workforce. And if we believe that there are likely to be even more nurses who will exit the nursing workforce now and over the coming months. I know that I'm speaking to you on Sunday. Tomorrow, on Monday, the 24th, we are going to be publishing a new report from ICN with the very latest evidence of the impact of COVID and Omicron on the global nursing workforce. I'm not going to get into the details of that report today. It will be available on the website tomorrow. But one of the things that we're going to be calling for is a global action plan for nursing and the healthcare workforce. We've had a year of the nurse, we've had a year of the healthcare worker. They're important, but we don't think that they're enough. We're very concerned that a legacy of the pandemic could be a global healthcare workforce crisis. We need to address that with investment and with a global plan. And as I said, more details of that in our report that's launched tomorrow. But you can also see from this slide reports that we have already produced, which have dug into the impact of nursing, of the pandemic of COVID on the nursing workforce. All separate reports about the mental health and psychological pressures, the mass traumatization, nurses leaving the profession. Big issues still with vaccine inequity, nurses in some parts of the world still waiting to be fully vaccinated, issues around infections and deaths as well. Our nursing workforce was in a fragile state before this pandemic. Underfunding in nursing has been endemic for many years. For the sake of the health of the planet, we cannot afford for that to continue, and it must be one of the major lessons from this pandemic that we need to invest in nursing and our healthcare workforce, not for their own sake, but for the sake of safe, high quality care for people everywhere. WHO has taken safety and workforce safety really on board in recent years. In 2020, they made Patient Safety Day, they made health worker safety at the heart of Patient Safety Day, published a charter calling on governments and countries everywhere to do much more to protect health workers from violence, to support mental health, to have national programs for workforce. That work continues with WHO, and I'm very pleased WHO are putting such a high profile on safety of work, the working environment for all healthcare workers. I did also want to just highlight safety in relation to advanced and extended nursing roles. You might be surprised for me to raise this, but ICN has done an awful lot of work to support the development of nursing roles, specialist, advanced, consultant nursing roles. Massive potential to improve care right the way around the world for these roles. But sometimes a question which is put to us, a challenge which is made is, but are these roles safe? This publication here was a is a compendium of the evidence on advanced nursing roles published by the Wish Foundation. There's our own ICN publication on the competence for advanced practice. My point here is that advanced nursing roles, the evidence show us that they are safe as well. They do an awful lot of other things which improve access to healthcare. But I wanted to acknowledge that as part of this presentation on safety as well. It shouldn't be a limiter to the development, the extension of nursing roles. Given what I've said about the evidence base in relation to safe staffing, nursing practice, the advancement of extended roles, some of the issues around innovations and developments in care as well, how do we ensure that all of that happens, that nursing and midwifery is supported and developed in the workplace, that those responsible for managing big health organizations and health systems understand that? We often suffer the lack of nursing leadership at the highest possible level within organizations, within policy making as well. To really ensure that safety is embedded in the culture of organizations and systems, I think it is critical that nursing is represented through senior leaders at the pinnacle of health decision making, nationally as well as globally. This is a piece that I wrote with Elizabeth Ero last year about how we reposition the nursing profession, and one of its key points it makes, Elizabeth Ero, you know, is the chief nurse of WHO, is about nurse leaders being seen not just as leading the delivery of care, but having a leading role in the design of health systems. And as we know, design of safety should be at the heart of the design of health systems. And I think that we improve that when we have nursing voice and representation. I wanted to just go back to the working environment. We know the issues with staffing levels, but I think it's more than staffing levels. It's about the culture of an organization where people feel valued, respected, they can speak up, they can raise concerns if they see them. And as opposed to shutting people down or to treating people as though they're being disloyal if they speak up, we should have cultures where feedback is seen as important to developing and enhancing safety. And I think that also brings into question the type of leadership that we want for our health systems and health organizations. And I've highlighted here, I think, some of the approach that we want. I've said it's a new model of leadership. I think it's in many organizations, this is the model of leadership we see, but it's one that I commend in terms of a no blame, open, just culture with visible leadership, empowering and supporting staff, acknowledging the importance of reflective practice and sharing best practice, and investing in continuing professional development. Final slide for me is to share with you the Icn Code of Ethics. Icn first published a Code of Ethics back in 1923, and we revise and update that every few years. And last year was the latest revision to the code, free to download and access from our website. And I share it with you because if you look at that code, something that was there in 1923 and is still at the heart of it now is safety. Safety at the heart of nursing practice, at the heart of the ethical framework which individual nurses should work to protect and to promote safety, but also at the heart of what to do, nurses coming together as a profession to promote and enhance safety. And I think people sometimes miss that safety is integral to the ethical code, the ethical framework through which nurses practice. I think that's one of the reasons why time and time again nurses are rated in popular polls as the most trusted profession, because people know that they have a sound ethical base, and that sound ethical base includes safety. Colleagues, it's a quick run through. I know you can find much more information on our website. Many of the documents that I that I've mentioned. This year, International Nurses Day, the theme for the 12th of May, Nurses, a Voice to Lead, the leadership theme. We've made that for the last few years, but we're particularly going to focus on the importance of investing in nursing and respecting rights to secure global health, to secure safe, high quality global health. Do keep an eye out for the report from us tomorrow as well. I wish you well for this event. Thank you for participating, and I hope that perhaps it won't be too long before we get to meet again. Thank you and goodbye.
I'd like to thank Mr. Howard Catton for accepting the invitation to speak in this webinar, even though he wasn't able to be with us live, but he gracefully has recorded it, and he was with me all along every step of the road, making sure that if there's anything additional I might need. He even asked if there was any questions that I would like him to answer in preparation for the webinar. I reviewed his presentation and I felt that he hits all the major points, and I personally don't have any further questions. I think it was to the point and clear. Our final presentation, you'll be hearing from Dr. Muhammad Al-Ghamdi, who will be speaking about the safe staffing ratios, nurse midwife to patient ratios, and including key points and the roadmap for successfully implementing the guidelines within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. A brief introduction about Dr. Muhammad Al-Ghamdi. He is a registered nurse. He holds a PhD, and he also holds Nurse Executive Board certification. He is the first elected president of the Saudi Nurses Association since 2018, and he serves as the General Director of Nursing within the Saudi Ministry of Health. And he's also the chair of the National Nursing Committee within the Saudi Health Council. He has a collective of 26 years of experience as a registered nurse with extensive knowledge of nursing management and healthcare leadership. Welcome, Dr. Ghamdi, and go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you so much, Shadia. And really, I would like to thank you and to thank the Saudi Patient Safety Center for giving me this opportunity. And thank you for the special thanks and thank you note from Dr. Abdullah. Another special thank actually for the incredible team, for the punctuality, the dedication during the last few weeks, which gave this event a great kickoff. Tonight, very keen to speak on behalf of the Saudi Nurses Association and share with you all the collaborative journey and the journey to how we regulate the safe staffing ratio and move the just a recommended staffing ratio from just the recommendations and then to a mandated safe staffing ratios by the Saudi the Sibahi. So I will just now share the slides. Just give me another confirmation, please, if you can see it. So just give me a confirmation that you see the presentation. Okay, thank you. Actually, we are all known about the evidence evolving since 1990 concerning the safe staffing and how all the researchers and literatures connected the safe staffing initiative to the several factors, including patient outcomes and even healthcare institutions outcomes. Duffield in 2011 give a very interesting conclusion that when enough nurses are employed, there are a significant reduction in gastrointestinal bleeding, sepsis, shock, coronary failure, pressure injuries, and falls. And these actually I have tried by myself. When I tried to investigate the safe staffing, including the nurse workload to the patient outcomes, which is already mentioned with the other factors. For my study in 2017, it was really connected positively and associated in a direct association with the pressure ulcers, patient falls, and patient satisfaction. So that's actually the dynamic between insufficient nurses, shortage, workload, and then you'll have a huge challenge in the patient staffing, and then you'll have a very or a significant impact in the patient satisfaction. Near miss, another huge problem we face in nursing. Also, we have read several outcomes in literatures concerning that additional patient assigned to a nurse over 4 patients, the risk of a CPR event increases by 16%. Actually, these outcomes will not only impact patients themselves. Actually, we are talking currently with something like called healthcare industry. It doesn't mean that we are non-profit organization, that we don't have to pay attention toward the cost. Honestly speaking, most of the non-profit organization now operates with a profit mindset, means that when you open IV sets, you have to know that the malpractice will impact the cost. At the same time, when you miss a vein, when you do IV cannulation, we will impact two major things. The most important thing is the patients, where you've missed the vein, and then another failure, you can't use the cannula once time, so you will get rid of it, and then you use another one. This is a huge impact on cost. So we started from that actually point when Dr. Abdullah mentioned that we put the seed. Actually, Global Safety Summit in Jeddah in 2019, it was the real kickoff of these initiatives. So it's just only few months. I remember when the Icn position statements around safe staffing and nurse leader discussed an action plan. As I remember, it was in March, I think, and the 2019. And the position statement just 3 months ago, announced by the Dr. Howard. So the nurse staffing level, the white paper took place, and directly we had a journey started to do our homeworks from all these related institutions, organizations, entities, they have to stand by each other and take this seriously. We don't want to lose any more nurses. We don't want to have impact on even patient satisfaction or patient safety. So I remember that day when I was called by Dr. Housawi, which is actually, it's from my perspective, I thought this is the good timing to bring all these stakeholders on the table. So we signed the memorandum of understanding, and then another step that we have to work on the mandated staffing ratios. It's not anymore recommended. So how to go through the legislative entities, it was like a puzzle. Okay, that one needs to be engaged. Okay, you have to talk to that COO and that personnel and others, so we can just gather them together. Otherwise, you will have a very long period of time spending on back and forth within the regulation processes. So we had directly the right door, which is the Saudi Health Council. The Saudi Health Council, for those who doesn't know what's the role and the responsibilities of the Saudi Health Council. Saudi Health Council is the highest regulatory body in Saudi Arabia. So we, as a nurses, have a representative entities called the National Nursing Committee. And the Saudi or the National Nursing Committee, represented by all the executive nurses, leaders, directors from all the healthcare institutions providing healthcare in Saudi Arabia. So the draft was referred to a group of leaders. It was more than 3-4, I think, months discussing all of these the outcomes, including financial outcomes, including all the impact that might be having in this once we implement the mandated staffing ratios. So the first recommendations come from my colleagues. Mawahib said, this has to be within the Sibahi standards. And then the first recommendations came on the table of the National Nursing Committee. We need the staffing ratios as a requirement or required standards for the accreditation or re-accreditation any healthcare institution in Saudi Arabia. So then we directly signed the paper and send it to the safe staffing guideline and regulations to the Saudi the Sibahi. The Sibahi, which is the Saudi Central Board for Accreditation for Healthcare Institutions, actually discuss in depth, having in their 4th edition, the new 4th edition, upcoming 4th edition, how to make a whole chapter dedicated for nurses and midwives as accreditation standards. And then Dr. Salim Al-Wahabi, Allah al-Afia, I was not actually in that moment, I'm optimistic guy, but to that level in very short period of time, I mean 3 years, really, it's a short period of time. We talk about legislative or regulations actions. So, and then I have the good news that in January 2022, a whole chapter will be dedicated for the patient, for the safety of nurses and midwives, including patient safety as a result. this is really was a great news for all the nurses. And to brief, actually, the journey timeline, how we did it from the beginning. As the slides shows, the Icn position statements, which is entitled Evidence-Based Safe Nurse Staffing, issued to stress that safe nurse staffing is crucial to maintaining both the quality of care and the safety of patients. So it was December 2018. On March 2019, as Dr. Abdullah mentioned, the 4th Global Ministerial Summit in Jeddah. Actions been took to April, directly a month after that. A white paper published, and I remember the first meeting or nurse we have in Ministry of Health, a Congress called Nursing Leaders Congress. I remember that one was the 4th, and when we announced when the white paper announced, it was the side talks of every corridor and every side talk of our leaders. That's what we've been waiting for. And then I had to decide to have my hand on this initiative and to be within this journey to sorry, I got the wrong one. Okay, to the Saudi Health Council. So we worked through the National Nursing Committee in November 2020 and the Saudi Health Council, and with my colleagues in the National Nursing Committee, we worked together through huge work in developing the guideline, the patient ratio, nurse patient ratio guideline. On December 2021, the Saudi Central Board accreditation approved, and the journey, inshallah, will be, it's not the end. Actually, it's the responsibility of every one of us. It's not just something that it's will be in the drawers just to have the leaders or our supervisors knows that I have to have only 4 patients in surgical department, for example. No, actually, a huge advocacy role should start from then. And we're still having another journey, station in the journey. Actually, what we're looking for is to embed all the regulations concerning the liability insurance. In California state, when you commit a near miss or any medication administration error, and you have a medication errors in that shift, the insurance company or your institutions found out in case that you have overwhelming or you are overstaffed with more than the mandated ratio, you will not pay anything for the mistake that you have committed. The healthcare institution will pay for that. So in this moment, if you connect the safe staffing with the regulation and then with the profit or the costs, I think we will have a good impact, because the cost is our life, is our everything run by cost in this time. So finally, I'm sorry for taking that long. Actually, I have to mention the success partners. Actually, on behalf of the Saudi Nurses Association, I would like to thank the Patient Safety Center for the great efforts, the collaboration with the Saudi Commissioner for Health Specialties, Saudi Central Board also for accreditation of healthcare institutions, the Saudi Health Council, all of these institutions, Minister of Health, Minister of Defense, actually gave us a huge help in this regard. Again, I will not forget, of course, the champions of the journey, starting Dr. Abdullah, Mawahib. Actually, I don't want to miss any one of them. This is something I think very remarkable, and they already have their award by having this initiative on the ground. So thank you so much, and I apologize if I take longer than my time.
Thank you, Dr. Muhammad. You're actually ahead of your time. So thank you for your presentation. And actually, I've prepared some questions to discuss, but you actually answered one of them. I wanted to start off the Q&A session with asking what is next, and you kind of briefly went over what will be happening next in this journey. It's a great effort, and it's a collaborative effort. You cannot achieve anything working in your silos. We always need to work together to get our word out there. And it's multiple organizations, multiple individuals within nursing and within the healthcare profession that helped produce this document, which we released in August 2021. I wanted to ask, what is next? Are we just going to look at nursing, or are we going to also look at some point at other healthcare professionals?
Actually, as I mentioned, we have actually we just started. It's not something we came up with and just leave it in the nursing and midwifery chapter, and the accreditation standards. The rule now is to start connecting all the shortage related outcomes, especially the patient outcomes and cost outcomes. Actually, we have already some outcomes in some studies in the Saudi Arabia connecting the shortage, the workload with the patient outcomes. I'm really optimistic to have more studies in this. Also, nursing leaders have another rule to advocate on behalf of their nurses. I know some of the nurses complaining of shortage, and this is a global issue. It's not something unique or something you can just blame your hospital directors. This is something we need to work side to side and see how to enhance the nursing attractiveness among Saudi society. We still have another aim to increase the attractiveness. Doesn't mean that we don't have that attractiveness in the nursing. I remember one of my colleagues said, I have only 200 seats in my college, those high schoolers applied to be a nursing student is double my seats. So I think we're okay with this, but we need to do more concerning the capacity of the academic seats in the nursing schools.
Thank you, Dr. Ghamdi. Dr. Hossawi, I wanted to ask with regards to the safe staffing being introduced as one of the standards in the Saudi Central Board for Healthcare Specialties. Does that include other healthcare professionals, or is it dedicated specifically to nursing and midwifery?
Yeah, very important question. So the aviation industry has something called minimum equipment list. So no airplane will take off without having that minimum equipment list taking place. Just check any flight that you're on, and sometimes when you find a delay, it's because of the minimum equipment list. There are some other causes, but the airplane does not take off without minimum equipment list. I think we take off, figuratively in healthcare many times with very minimum equipment list. So to answer your question, yes, I'm very glad also to be part of this efforts by Sibahi to highlight the safe staffing as a concept. So you will see, inshallah, once Sibahi officially announces the fourth version, that there will be an area about safe staffing, because you just do the math. If you have one specialist in an ICU looking after 40-50 patients, does that really work? If you have a junior resident in a busy clinical unit on call by him or herself with no support, does that work? Is that safe, not just for patients, but for the individual? That person probably has been working throughout the day, and we heard of accidents that healthcare workers have even after work because of lack of sleep, and then they sleeping behind the wheels. So for all the above reasons, if you look at the healthcare as a system, and you've got the structure, process, outcome. So for us to get a good outcome, which is safety, so we're talking about the safe health workers, safe patients, safe health workers. To get that good outcome, we need to start with a good structure. So the structure here is that one of the basic structures is what is the basic minimum staffing for nurses? What's the basic minimum staffing for midwives? But then what about the other 50% of the healthcare workers? What about one or two pharmacists on call for 800, 1,000 beds hospital? What does that do? What about number of specialties and professions that need to have that introduced? So I think if this shows it speaks to the how progressive the people in kind of the healthcare system about the way moving forward, and as Dr. Muhammad mentioned, it's also the speed of action. It's not just about talking about it, because you can talk about it, but actually to translate that into actions is going to be key. So yeah, I think that is definitely, inshallah, coming with other professions. But I think I would love to see a day where we also have, you know, a minimum safety list within a clinical unit of equipment, of healthcare professions, and accordingly, then you could scale up or scale down the number of beds, because you know, especially in days like this with the pandemic, we talk about closing beds or opening beds. You know, it's usually physicians like me who are kind of pushing to open beds, people at the leadership, and they sometimes feel that a nursing manager or a CNO is being difficult because he or she does not want to kind of go along. I think these discussions, that background, you know, such legislation is going to make it much easier for everyone to be on the same page in terms of, you know, this is for the goodness of everyone. You do not want to have your family member be in a clinical unit where the nurse has, you know, 8, 9, 10 patients. So I think it is a very good start. I'm very optimistic that as we move forward, this just becomes part of the lingo, part of the understanding of people in healthcare system across the board, from the very junior all the way to the leadership of the healthcare system. Yeah, you think you're on mute.
Yeah, I'll go through a few of the questions that are in the Q&A session, and then I'll also go through some of the questions that I've prepared. Abdul Hamid Suleiman, he says there was an initiative when he was working in the MOH General Directorate of Training and Scholarships to develop a mandatory training course for healthcare professionals. Can this initiative be implemented in the near future?
If the question directed to me, just could you please repeat the title of the course?
He doesn't specify the name of the course, but he said that it's training and scholarship to develop mandatory training courses for healthcare professionals. Can this initiative be implemented in the near future? There's no mention of the specific courses, and it's general, as in healthcare professionals. I don't know if it's specific to the nursing.
Actually, currently, as we have a healthcare transformation, which make healthcare clusters more independent and with a strong leadership, has the autonomy to operate their needs. Actually, all the training and all the what we call the based on need assessment, training need assessments will be moved and transformed to the cluster. So the Ministry of Health as a headquarter will not operate the courses, the training courses, the scholarship, unless for those regions that not yet developed completely as a healthcare independent clusters. So we've been working for decades and providing the courses, leadership courses, staffing courses, all of the operation level or operational level. This is not be anymore the headquarter kind of job. However, we still require many evidence to upscale the nurses, huge mandate in this scale. However, we are interested in having KPIs to ensure that their nurses, our nurses, having the sufficient training in the near future.
if I may also, Shadia, add here, I think this question, made me, kind of reminded me about a very important, discussions which lately also I was having with the colleagues in Sibahi, which is about the issue of competencies and clinical privileging, because we tend to think about clinical privileging only for physicians. And again, the physicians, few physicians like me would think that a nurse that works in the outpatient department, well, we have some pressures in the ICU, get the nurse that works in the outpatient department to show up for the 30, 40 bed ICU. We have someone that works in the OR, and then okay, let's ask her to work in the burn unit. And that is dangerous. I think that is a dangerous practice. And I think maybe that question, if I understood it correctly, alluded to that part. If you haven't administered chemotherapy before, I'm sure there are mandatory chemotherapy courses that are needed to be done, and so on and so forth. So I'm sure, and again, we have both Dr. Muhammad and also Shadia, both are nursing leaders. I think that discussion kind of needs to be taken forward because we should not think of any RN as every RN. It's the same thing as like a hepatobiliary surgeon like me should not be doing any orthopedic stuff, or a cardiologist to be treating patients with Crohn's disease, because they're all MDs, but everyone has different understanding. I think the same thing. I'm not talking about the advanced nursing professions here. I'm talking about, your staff nurse with different skill sets and different, competencies / clinical privileging. And I'm not sure if other countries have that practice, but I think moving forward, especially in the critical areas, I don't mean just ICUs, but in general, with the pressures on the healthcare system, you see, this cross coverage taking place, and usually sometimes, it takes place without thinking about, these very important aspects. So it's not just a ratio, it's also, you can have a good ratio, but someone who's never looked after a very complex, hip replacement patient who's 70, 80-year-old with like 5, 6 problems. So very important angle. I think that question was alluding to that angle as well.
Thank you both for your feedback. Actually, I think Abdul Hamid did clarify later on. He did say, thanks, Dr. Muhammad. I mean, courses like BLS and ACLS.
Yeah, I read his clarification, and thank you, Abdul Hamid. I think BLS is a mandatory, so this is something you can't do. You can't have the registration, the Saudi Commission registration, without having the BLS. Concerning the ACLS, I think this is one of the mandatory of the Sibahi for a specialized unit like PALS and pediatric units, pediatric ICU units. Also ATLS for the trauma emergencies, neonatal NRB for neonatal or NICU. These actually put the responsibility not on the nurses or physicians only. This is something you need to maintain it and the purpose of the accreditation. If you wanted to continue your accreditation as a hospital, compared with other hospitals, especially with the corporatization now. I mean to say, with having the FAB, if your catchment area, you didn't attract them to your healthcare institutions, they have the right to go to other hospitals. in other clusters. When they are treated in the other clusters, you will pay their medications and their healthcare. So they have the option to go anywhere. For you, if you are not capable to upscaling your nurses, to continue your accreditation, I think you'll not have the magnet, or you'll not have the attraction to have compatible healthcare provision. I just would like just to have the other questions with Khalil, if you allow me, because this is something related to the Minister of Health. And the question is really very important. As with the shortage impact the staffing, and the same thing, the staffing will impact the quality of care and the safety. And as we have the cycle moved on, especially with the turnover height, and you said, I will just recruit other nurses. I don't care. I will continue having recruitment efforts or agencies. Actually, high turnover is another problem. When you have unstable, not retained nurses, you will have unstable delivery of care. So most of our efforts today is how to retain, how you should have a national strategy to retain your nurses, either Saudi or non-Saudi. They are all your nurses, because you will have the same problem when you keep going and running to recruit nurses, and then after convincing nurses of, despite you have a high turnover rate, if they will not have a very positive work environment, they will leave you to the other institutions. And you know, when I was having my recruitment trip the last 3-4 months, actually, even Germany, your agencies, you have them in Manila. They have very competitive salaries. Even Japanese, they have, they get nurses from directly fresh graduate nurses, and giving them courses for 3 months before taking them to Japan, teaching them Japanese language. So all these efforts, you think, okay, so we have to have a really national retention strategy and to work on the problem of shortage. Alhamdulillah, we have one of the strategic goals within the national transformation toward 2030 vision. We have to maintain not less than 700 nurses for 100,000 patients, 100,000 citizens population. This is one of the mandated KPI we have to. Now we are almost 621, if I'm not mistaken. Hopefully we got 640. I don't have the statistics yet because it's not yet published for the 2021. However, we have to maintain the 700s, the golden standard, and also we have to consider the national nurses, because still we have a huge challenge in this regard, as we have only 37% of the workforce are Saudis.
Thank you, Dr. Ghamdi. Actually, Khalil asked that question, and also Nelma was asking, are there any strategies to improve safe staff shortage? That's a tongue twister. So we actually answered 2 questions at the moment. I was looking at a question. Hayat al-Husani, I think this is also for Dr. Al-Ghamdi. If we will talk about midwifery, still we are joint with nursing. How can we improve this field and we don't have a clear pathway?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. This is a great question. First of all, I would like to congratulate you and all the midwives for having your independent association led by Dr. I think Ra'a Tawili, which is the Midwifery, Saudi Midwifery Association. And I think now we are working hard to have our first National Nursing and Midwife Committee in the Saudi Health Council. I know and I believe midwifery is an independent profession till we are sure about, Dr. Ra is the only PhD in midwifery in different platform in Ministry of Health in the Saudi Health Council. When we don't know, but I think once we reach having your own association led by all midwives, there is no even single nurse or physician. Okay, so I think you are on good track. You can advocate for your own profession, and I'm very optimistic in this, inshallah.
Thank you, Dr. Al-Ghamdi. I actually had a question, and I was going to, it kind of goes into also one of the questions presented by the anonymous attendee. I was going to say, talk about that a single ratio doesn't take into account the unique circumstances and variations in patient needs in each unit and the necessary nursing skill max. What are the additional detriments that managers need to determine the correct nurses ratio? And actually, the anonymous attendee, their question was, what method could be appropriate, or what is the provided equation? So I think it goes into hand in hand. I think you can answer both questions in one, if possible, Dr.
I think it does a lot of sense when we have a safe staffing ratio mandated in any of our regulations. I think this is not the end. Still, we have to understand that the inadequate nurse staffing levels will increase the workload and increase the work stress and nurse dissatisfaction, burnout. This actually will directly lead the outcomes toward hospital-acquired infections like Cowty, eclampsia, the ventilator-associated pneumonia, and also very connected to length of stay, as you have more complications with your patients. Pressure ulcers, as we mentioned, and patient falls, even mortality rate is very connected to all of these issues. And the cause number one actually is either having a shortage, and it's not just having a shortage that you'll give your nursing supervisor the excuse to rely on the other nurses. Actually, you need to work, and you don't have to open even a bed. You have the right to say, no, I have enough patients for my own nurses. I will not have additional patients unless you will take the risk and the accountability and having any outcomes. yes, I know my nurses, they have more than the safe staffing ratio in most of the Ministry of Health hospitals. Actually, we still have a long, as I mentioned, have a long trip to connect the costs. I mean, the cost when you have accountable executive directors responsible of every real. In addition to this, if your healthcare liability insurance is put in together with the safe staffing, I think they will take it seriously from that point. So we still have a voice to convince stakeholders in this regard. Everyone of us, I think, we still has a long journey to voice up all of these issues. Even my colleagues in the academic institutions, even in clinical settings, I think your role is to investigate through research and disseminate these researches to convince all the executives and the healthcare leaders about the importance of staffing.
If I can add also to what just Dr. Muhammad said, I think everyone should at least leave this meeting with, okay, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do tomorrow? And I think simply don't underestimate your role. Even if you're a staff nurse, even if you're a junior staff nurse, you can just introduce the topic. Maybe your nurse manager hasn't heard about it. Maybe you know, your hospital leadership hasn't heard about it. So at any level, even if you're just at the bedside and you don't have any managerial or leadership position, but all the way you can always spread the word. You know, talk to your colleagues about the fact that this great efforts nationally, because keep in mind, safety happens at the bedside. You know, the efforts happen globally at the level of the WHO and other multinational organizations. They happen at the level of the leadership, but the safety of both patients and the safety of nurses, the safety of midwives, it happens at the bedside. So what I want to tell you is you have a role to play. Don't just throw it on the leadership. Your role could be as simple as, you know, I'm sure the Saudi Nursing Association and the Saudi Patient Safety Center have these very nice, you know, postings with like the nursing ratios. You know, you have the white paper that has the document is made public, so everyone has access to it. Just take it and spread it to your colleagues. If you think that there would be any issues, even, you know, talking to your manager, your direct manager about it, just spread it to your colleagues. But I don't see any reason why your direct manager is not going to be happy with that. And I'm sure if we do that, if every one of the people that attended today, you know, at some point we had 311 people, but I think totally maybe we had, I don't know, maybe 1,000 between people going in and out. If everyone who attended today just decided, you know, I'm going to just talk to 5 other people about it, you know, at any levels. I'm gonna take that white paper, that publication, and I'm gonna spread it around. At some point, we will have a situation where many hospitals will have their action plan, their roadmap of how can I achieve those ratios. Because, you know, there are only very few maybe clinical units in the kingdom who have achieved all these ratios. But it's always about, you know, 1,000-mile journey starts with one step. So take the first step, you know, and having the roadmap of, okay, how can I achieve that journey? is going to be the way forward. So every one of you has a role to play, and just don't underestimate your role.
Thanks, Dr. Abdel-Ilah. I was just going to ask, looking at the time, for everyone to give me their closing remarks and moving forward. I mean, as healthcare leaders and also as nurses, bedside nurses, what should we do moving forward? And I think you did a very good job of summarizing it. This document was published towards the end of August 2021, but I don't know if a lot of the nurses within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia have managed to review the document, nurses and the healthcare leaders. And I think it is important to start this discussion. This is an important document, and I think it gives us guidelines moving forward as healthcare professionals, how our work environments can be safe for us as healthcare professionals, and how we can deliver healthcare that is safe to our patients. I couldn't have said it better than you did, Dr. Hawsawi. Is there any other closing remarks from your side, Dr. Al-Ghamdi?
Yeah, I think we don't have anything more or to clarify than Dr. Abdel-Ilah. He was our voice during the Icn Congress in Singapore 2019, and I was there. I was really proud to have him there because, first of all, he's not a nurse, but he believes in nursing. And this is actually a good support when it comes from out of your profession. My message to a nurse, to the nurses, is actually two. The staff nurses, please keep connecting safe staffing ratios, or keep connecting the staffing issue with two things. Then you will win the battle. Connect it to your patient. It's not anymore a nursing issue. It's a patient issue, patient outcomes issue. Two, connect it to the costs embedded within the workload as the first outcome from the staffing issue. For the nursing leaders, we give just an example, by the way. We have so many, let me call it a battle in health policy, because power and politics determine the health profession future, even health of populations, national, international, the shape of you, the shape of practice, the shape of your work environment, where we spend most of our time. It's more than spend my time with my daughters. So every nurse should develop the skills to be a strong leader, how to regulate your challenges, and how to understand that policies impact every segment of your profession. So let's have the courage and confidence to make decisions in policy arena. I don't have anything to say. Just as we have very platform, Dr. Hawsawi, through the Saudi Patient Safety Center, he knocked the first door, the Saudi Nurse Association. Actually, he knocked the Icn door first, and then the Saudi Nurse Association, because it was just developed when the Saudi, the Jeddah summit, it was, there is no Saudi Nurse Association. It was developed after March 2019. And from then, he told me, come with me, let's go together. And then we knocked the door of the Saudi Commission. I mean, after the Saudi Commission, we knocked the door of the Saudi Health Council and the National Nursing Committee. So the nursing entities are there. So just utilize them, either in the Saudi Commission through the professional council, scientific council, or through the Saudi council through the National Nursing Committee. So therefore, I think the Saudi Patient Safety Center worked nationally with all the nursing entities and the nursing leaders in many regions to ensure that experienced nurses, nursing leaders are available anytime to help nurses deliver their potentials, include their voice in policy making process.
Thank you for your final thoughts. At the end, on behalf of the Saudi Patient Safety, we would like to thank our distinguished speakers, Dr. Abdelilah Hawsawi, Mr. Howard Catton, and Dr. Muhammad Al-Ghamdi for addressing the safety of nursing and midwifery workforce within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and giving the insights and actually leading the way for workforce safety within nursing and midwifery in the kingdom. I would like to also thank the audience for their active participation and their questions. As part of the Saudi Patient Safety Center's efforts to provide you with the audience with timely topics and interesting speakers, we appreciate your feedback. If you would fill out the evaluation survey, give us the feedback at the end of the session, and this helps us improve our webinars and also introduces us also to other speakers or need assessment of the population that we are presenting our webinars to. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to welcoming you back in future webinars. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Shad. Thank you, Dr. for support. Thank you for having me.
Okay.